What's going on, everyone? It's Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and this week and next week we are going to be doing a Blues Budget Battle Brews, which, as you know, is my $20 budget deck series that I usually offer at conventions and apparently on Facebook Marketplace and to other customers via, my Facebook page. So these two decks come to you courtesy of our friend in Georgia, who actually previously ordered an Infect deck, loved what he got, and has decided that he wants to help his fiance and his brother get into the game. So these are next two decks for the next 2 weeks will be gifts to them. So the first deck is an Angel deck that was for the fiance, and next week's deck I will be doing a Goblin deck. It's an update from a previous deck that I did 2 years ago before I knew how to do anything on YouTube, and it should be an updated, much nicer looking video to describe the Goblin tribal deck that I do. So let's just get started on the Angel deck, and I'll go through it and tell you what I did. So Angels have a small problem where lower mana value costing angels are few and far between. So for instance, I started off with Segovian Angel. It's a 1-drop, it's a 1/1 with Flying Vigilance. Now, I don't believe, if I remember correctly, there was any other 1-drop angels that I could go with anyway. Luckily, this one is a really good one. Not many things have, for 1 mana, and actually a power, this many abilities, technically. I mean, sure, Birds of Paradise, but they have no power. So it's a good 1-drop to go with. The 2-drop, however, was a little more tricky. So you'll notice here I chose Angelic Page. It's 2 to cast 1/1 with flying, and then it has the ability to tap and give target attacking or blocking creature +1/+1 until end of turn, and that's pretty good for combat tricks. So here was the issue, though. On the 2-drop, there's not really many good things. The only one that was better than this, and this isn't horrible, but it's not great compared to Youthful Valkyrie, which is another 2-drop. The problem with the Youthful Valkyrie is that it's only available in Kaldheim set booster boxes. You can't get it anywhere else. That pretty much raised the price of it to an $8+ uncommon, meaning that you couldn't really put any in here at a $20 budget, because 2 of them and then 58 lands would be the deck, 58 planes. So I had to find the next best thing, which was Angelic Page, because all the rest of them, I mean, they're passable, I guess, but this one was the best of the options. So I went ahead and went for them, and then the next card is the only other 2-drop I could do, but remember, on my Blues Budget Battle Brews, it's 3 rares, and then the last rare slot is either a rare, a foil rare, or a mythic, and I wanted to show as many different angels as I could. So we'll do Serra Avenger. It's a 2-drop. It's a 3/3 angel. It has Flying and Vigilance, and it has a weird ability that people sometimes misconstrue. So it can't be cast during your first, second, or third turn of the game. So what that really means is your turn. Actually, on the rulings on this card, you can cast it if for some reason you have a way to cast it with Flash. I don't know how you would do that right now, but you could if you had Vidalcan or Orrery out, but I mean, by that time, it's probably past the first, second, or third turn of the game. You can cast it on an opponent's first, second, or third turn, but your specific first, second, or third turn, you cannot, so keep that in mind. The 3-drop's going to seem puzzling at first, but I'll explain why it was included in a little bit, because there's another card in here that goes with it. So it's a 3 to cast, 3/3 flying. And then when it enters the battlefield, you have to return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. Normally, a card like this you would hope had Flash itself so that they could save one of your things. It doesn't. It's actually a drawback on purpose because it's a 3 to cast, 3/3 flyer. So I've included something to make that drawback an actual advantage for you, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So I got 4 of those in there. The 4-drop was Seraph of Dawn, so it's a 4 to cast, 2/4 flying lifelinker. Always nice to have a little bit of life gain. It has a nice big butt, so it can help block some things, and with flying, it pretty much blocks anything in that range, for the most part, minus some green big baddies. Got 4 of them. Seraph of the Sword, now we can block just about anything we want. So it's a 4-drop, it's a 3/3 flyer, and then it says prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Seraph of the Sword. So this is your if you are facing somebody who's doing like Green Stompy, this is your guy who sits back and blocks because all of it gets negated anyway. Keep in mind with Trample, though, all the Trampler has to do is do 3 damage to it, and the rest tramples over. Herald of War is my 5-drop. It's a 3/3 flyer, of course. And then when it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then the cool thing is, angel spells and human spells that you cast cost 1 less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Herald of War. So now you can make things cost a lot cheaper. Obviously, it doesn't affect Segovian Angel because it doesn't have a generic mana cost, but it can start to make things come out quicker. So, not a bad option. the most obvious choice here when you come across angels is you got to have a Baneslayer in there. I mean, it's a 5 to cast, 5/5, flying, first strike, lifelinking, protection from demons and dragons. All those abilities in one card. So the protection is not going to matter so much unless you're playing somebody who's playing tribal dragons. There's not a lot of people playing tribal demons, but it's good to have some options there. But it's just flying, first strike, and lifelink. It's good to be able to gain life. The first strike is pretty hard to get past as a 5 power. That's actually one of the higher ends of first strike I've seen. It's a good card to have. Some control aspects. That was all the creatures. So some of the control aspects, we're going to go with Swift Response. It's an instant for 2 to cast that destroys an tapped creature. So here's the cool thing and the reason why I like to use these in some of my budget decks. When somebody declares a creature as an attacker, you have to tap it. You can actually, because it's an instant, destroy it at that phase. So it's a good option to have. It helps you learn timing rules and stuff like that, and it's good for surprising somebody with something that doesn't really happen often, which is destroying a creature in a specific phase like that. Got 4 of them in there. We got pacifisms because I probably put pacifism in every white deck because it's just good utility. It's a 2-drop. It enchants a creature and then it makes it so it can't attack or block, and it pretty much clears the way for your dudes to go through. So obviously I got a place out of that. To continue that theme, I went with reprobation. So this one does similar. It enchants a creature, and then that creature loses all abilities and is now a coward, which is a 0/1/1 or a 0/1. So essentially, it can still attack or block, and it can still be buffed. But I mean, it's a 0/1 coward. How much can you really fear that? So got that. Now the answer to the Emancipation Angel. So. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not coming up. That will be next. I'm sorry. This is Answered Prayers. Answered Prayers, it was kind of a weird thing I put in here. I wanted the 3-drop to have a couple more cards. This one is an enchantment that whenever a creature enters the battlefield under control, this thing, you gain a life, which is always good to be able to gain life so you can outpace your opponent. And then this becomes a 3/3 angel with flying in addition to its other types. So then it's basically an enchantment creature, 3/3 flying angel. So that's only when another creature enters the battlefield. Now, the good thing is that this does actually help you when you're going to return. When you play Emancipation Angel, you can return this, but that's not what this is for. I messed up earlier. This helps you because it's a good a pace. So if you drop this on turn 3 and then you drop your 4-drop, this becomes a 3/3 Flying Angel for free, and then you can just attack. And then you also gain the life, so it's always good to have that. This is the answer. Spare Supplies was my answer to the Emancipation Angel, and how do you take that drawback and turn it into a positive. One of White's biggest, and we all know this by playing Commander, its biggest weakness is card draw. So to solve that, I was using Emancipation Angel. It's a 2-drop that enters the battlefield tapped. Who cares? Sure, you care about that maybe a little bit. Not really. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and then the other part of it is you can pay 2, tap it, and then sacrifice it and draw a card. So what that does is you play it. On turn 2, you draw a card. Your next turn, you play Emancipation Angel, return the Spare Supplies back to your hand, and then the next turn, you either play your 4-drop or you play a Spare Supplies, or maybe even 2 Spare Supplies if you've gotten them. So that's drawing 2 cards. That was how I took Emancipation Angel's drawback and turned it into a benefit for you. So in a perfect world, you would play it, play Spare Supplies, drop an Emancipation Angel, return Spare Supplies. Next turn, drop 2 Spare Supplies, which would draw 2 cards for you, so you'll have netted 3 cards, and so on and so on. And then if you don't come up with another Emancipation Angel in the next turn or 2 to return Spare Supplies to your hand, then you can sacrifice it for another card to draw. So it's just a little bit of synergy that's taking a drawback and turn it into a positive. So, and then the rest is pretty basic. We're mono white, so it's just going to be 20 planes. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 18 planes. I forgot I did add this. I should have put this in front of the planes. It's 18 planes, and then Seraph Sanctuary on the back end of it, 2 of them. So it's the only time you can really take advantage of this card. When it enters the battlefield, you gain a life, and then whenever an angel enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life, and then it comes into play untapped, and you can tap it for a card list. So it's actually no drawback to this other than it doesn't produce white in this deck, and it has all benefit because it's an angel deck, and there aren't many angel decks out there. There are some in Commander, but I mean this is a 60-card deck, so you can add multiples. So whenever you play an angel, you can gain 2 life if both are in play. So it was just a nice little addition that I finally got to use these. I have had these since they came out, and there hasn't really been a deck that I can use because, I mean, up until Modern Horizons, Segovian Angel was not, wasn't there, so the 1-drop wasn't there, and I don't really like doing the deck without a 1-drop. So, in a nutshell, that's the deck. It's actually a pretty nice deck for, what it is. It's a $20 budget deck, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty nasty for Dude's Fiancé. But, you guys can tell me what you think. So there's a couple ways. I mean, obviously you can make a comment in the comments section below. I mean, that's what most people are doing. But I mean, there's other ways. You can tell me what you think, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about it. I have multiple ways. You can go on the Facebook page. It's Blue Bears Games on Facebook. It's pretty easy to see my symbol. And you can email me at bluebearsgames@gmail.com if you want to talk about anything. You know, maybe ordering a deck. This deck, I can try and remake it. I'm pretty sure I can most of the way make another copy of this. Uh, so yeah, that's about it for the day. Do me the favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this out to anybody who's looking to maybe build a budget angel deck or has never seen one and thinks that it can't be done. So either way, do me those favors, and I would love you for it. Anyway, have a good one, and I will see you all next week with our Goblin deck.